What is up, hotties? Welcome back to another episode of Stay Hot. I'm Blaiden Kirk, joined as always by my two favorite co-hosts of all time, Matthew Sponauer and Theo Ash. And today we are doing quite possibly the hardest list we've ever done, except for Theo. Apparently, Theo was telling us this was easy. This was light work for him. Slight work for him. We're ranking
all
our
these
top
lists. I have them all pre-written out weeks before we even talk about doing them in the meetings. So it's really easy for me to just whip out the sheet of paper and get the objectively correct list for me to submit to Daniel.
Objectively correct now, but today we're doing our top 10 defenses. We've done top 10 quarterbacks, receivers, running backs, but today we're just going all in on doing an entire defense. And obviously we've been doing single player individual players. And when you have to deal with 11, it makes it a little bit harder. But before we get into that, Matt, Theo, how are you guys doing today?
I'm good. I got nothing in particular story wise. I'm a little tired. That's it.
I get that. A little sleepy.
Regular day.
Just need to make it through the week.
Just got to make it through this week and then smooth sailing forever.
And then smooth sailing after that. I walked downtown and I watched all 22 and I drank a beer on the patio of this brewery, which I had not yet done. And I'm like, why haven't I been doing this the whole time? Had a beer and was outside, and it may have cost me like $18, but it was peaceful.
An $18 beer?
Well, I got 2 or 3, perhaps.
Okay. Okay, I was about to say, you paid $18 for one beer?
No.
Remind me to never go out with you again.
No.
All right, well, if you guys want to just hop right into these top 10 defenses.
I do.
All right.
This is a big list.
This is a big list. And we had multiple honorable mentions. And we're not going to dive into those too deep right now, but they were the Bills, Chiefs, and the Browns. So moving on to number 10.
And the Saints. Hold on. And the Saints, because I voted for the Saints, but no one else voted for the Saints. So
okay.
I noticed they were omitted from the honorable mentions, but the Saints also received a vote from me.
Okay. Fair enough. At number 10, we had the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I think they are deserving to be on this list, A, because they got TJ Watt back, right? That's a huge thing to have maybe the best defensive player in football, along with maybe the other best defensive player in football, Minkah Fitzpatrick, and then one of the best interior defensive linemen in Cam Hayward. They're one of the few teams, I think, that kind of has that trifecta of 3 really high-level Tier 1 defensive players. But everywhere else is where you start to be like, well, Patrick Peterson's old. I love him, and I can't think of his name right now.
Joey Porter Jr.
Joey Porter Jr. He's a rookie, and he has his flaws. So, even though he's talented, it's like there could be a world where the corner play could be a little bit shaky this year. And that, I think that's what puts them a little bit lower on this list.
Yeah, I could totally see ranking them top 10, and they were a team I considered. They were pretty near it last year, and they were missing TJ Watt for a huge portion of the season.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It's just the division. The reason I voted the Saints over them is I could see the Saints finishing top 10 easier than the Steelers because the Saints get to play 6 games in the NFC South.
I poo-poo that logic. That's not how it works.
Wait,
top 10 defense.
Did you really rank these defense? Did you go through their schedule and be like, well, they play such and such?
I think that makes sense, and people will probably come back to this, or maybe they will, and they'll be like, you had us blank and we finished blank. So you do need to take the schedule into account a little bit. I could see that. I had the Steelers as my first out. I really considered putting them here because I think having those top game changing guys like TJ matters so much. I mean, outside of him, that Steelers team hasn't had a ton going for it the last couple of years, and they've been able to stay afloat. And I think he's had such an impact, and he deserves a lot of credit. But I just think Patrick Peterson, if you're relying on him, I agree that corners are not that strong. The overall depth doesn't move me quite enough. but they'll be a good defense.
Yeah, you're hoping that somehow the corners align in their trajectory, even though they're in very different places. Like, we need Patrick Peterson to hang on for one more year, and we need Joey Porter Jr. to be good right away, which, you know, could happen. Patrick Peterson was decent last year, and Joey Porter Jr. was the 32nd overall pick. So it's within the realm of possibility. But
he could be a good mentor for Porter too. So
yeah, I guess. I mean, Porter shouldn't have any shortage of mentorship, considering.
Yeah, his dad, right?
Joey Porter Jr. Right.
Right.
So I think they know. I think he knows what's going on. I just think, yeah, if those two can coincide and give you good play, which, you know, it could happen, it could not, then we'll all look stupid except for Blaiden for not having them on our list. But if not,
it's just me and Daniel out here supporting.
Oh, Daniel got him
how
too.
How are you gonna let the Browns fan show more love to the Pittsburgh Steelers?
I don't know,
man. Disappointing. But we have the Steelers at 10. At number 9, I guess it's just me that did this. Made the Tennessee Titans 9th on this list. I'm stunned that you guys completely just left the Titans off. I think
their passing defense was so bad last year that it's a little bit tough for me to say that they're going to be top 10 this year. Like, I get that Fulton is a decent corner, but outside of him, the corner room is
like McCreary,
pretty dicey.
It's like McCreary and then Farley, right? If Farley ever plays.
Yeah, if Farley ever plays. But last year they were the number 1 rushing defense, and they were the 28th ranked passing defense. And it's that 28 number, and I get that they were kind of banged up, but I just couldn't put them in the top 10 after that type of passing performance, even if Fulton is healthier this time around. I like them. I like the addition of Arden Key. They're getting Harold Landry back. Yeah. You guys know I love Teair Tart, and I love Jeffrey Simmons, obviously.
Their defensive line is nasty. It might be the best in the league. Like, it's up there with the 49ers, and I don't even know who else would even contest.
Yeah, I don't disagree. If Arden Key can play like the end of last year, because he was really hooping at the end, and then you get Harold Landry back to pre-ACL forms, yeah, it could be a really good unit. It's just the secondary. It really is that cornerback room. You can't really count on Farley to do anything. And I don't know. It could be a really good group. It really could be. It's just that 28th number was kind of a disqualifier for me, unfortunately.
Yeah, that was kind of my logic as well. I think, I'm as high on Jeffrey Simmons as you can be. Tart's good. They got some front 7 players, but passing defense is bad, and I don't see any reason why it would be significantly better next year. And I think losing David Long kind of stinks too.
Yeah.
Yeah. El Shair is a nice consolation prize, but I don't know if he'll play as well as David Long played last season, because David Long was playing at a pretty high level, in my opinion.
And especially a lot of that is him going downhill and helping in the run. And that's not to say that their run defense won't be great again this year, because it will be. But when we're talking about I'm going to put them at number 1 because of not number 1, I'm going to put them high because of their rushing defense, and they lose a key run defender like that. It's definitely something you got to keep in mind.
You have them at 4th, Blaiden. So what about their passing defense? Do you just have that much faith in
I have
Fulton,
that much faith.
Or?
I know I have that much faith in the defensive line. I just think it's really just going to just completely eviscerate everyone they play. I just don't know who's really stopping that. It's the same reason I have the 49.
I don't know.
Who do you I would say we all love the 49ers defense. Are their corners all that special?
Yeah, but their passing defense wasn't ranked 28th. I think my argument for them, if I was arguing for them, and maybe I had them too low, would be if you feel like Fulton can hold his own, Byard, and then you got Sean Murphy Bunting, didn't he go there?
Yes, he did.
Maybe he can help out there a little bit. Maybe McCreary plays a little bit better as a second-year player, although he really did not look good last year, and I don't know if I'd be counting on that. And then you say, you think the front seven can still handle its own. I think there's ways. Like maybe I did have him too low, but I think 4 is pretty high.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think like there's a lot of teams that I think are a little bit weaker at corner that we all put, in particular the 49ers. The 49ers are the one team that I think also fits this bill of like an incredible front seven, but like the secondary is a little bit dicey. Now they do also have Fred Warner, right?
Yes.
That's the one difference, is that like you could run cover 2 and teams will like not be able to throw up the seam, and they won't be able to throw over the middle of the field because you have because you have that guy that can just like run with anybody. So that's the one thing that's like the big elevator. But like the corners are like, they lost Emmanuel Mosley. Like the corners are not this like generational, upgrade over the Titans. And the safeties are, I think,
their
like
front seven is way better.
Is it way better? I mean, the linebackers, yes. The linebackers, yes. But like,
all right, Simmons or Bosa?
Bosa.
I'm taking Bosa.
Yeah.
All right, and then I mean, we're talking about like Warner is amazing. The whole linebacker unit there is amazing.
Dre Greenlaw, yeah.
Greenlaw. You've got Hargrave there now.
Yeah.
It's just I think there's a lot more stars on that 49ers front seven.
I agree. I mean, the 49ers are better. Don't get me wrong, but like,
yeah, you had them ranked as 1.
We all did. Yeah. We all did. Like, no, okay. So we just spoiled who number 1 is, but everyone knew who number 1 was going to be.
Yeah, I don't think that'll shock too many people.
I don't think that'll shock too many people. If we want to move on to number 8, though, we have the Cincinnati Bengals, and I think this was one that you guys had a lot higher than I did. But they were like my first team out was Cincinnati.
I think that's crazy, man. Well, what do you have against the Bengals?
I don't have anything against the Bengals. I just think
you do.
Clearly, there's something.
I like the Bengals as far as like, I hate the Bengals. I'm a Browns fan, but like as far as players that they have on defense, I don't dislike them. I just think that it could be somewhat of a transition period, right? In the secondary. That's the one thing that I'm a little bit like, I like Dax Hill. I like Jordan Battle, but like, are we expecting them to come in and just like be completely seamless transition from where they were last year? I don't think that's like totally fair to be like, oh yeah, they'll be the number 1.
You've got other teams ranked starting, like Roger McCreary and whoever. I mean,
their defensive line's better.
Yeah, I think I like. I'm not even sure I agree with that. No, it's not.
You don't agree with that?
No, I'd take the Bengals.
I would take the Titans defensive line over.
I would take the Titans, man.
I'd take the Bengals. Reeder, Hubbard, Hill, and
Hendrickson.
Hendrickson. That's stacked, man. All those guys.
It's good, but so is Tart and Simmons and Landry
the Bengals don't get after the quarterback enough.
And Autry.
They're great in run defense.
Here's the thing about the Bengals. They were 5th in yards allowed per drive last year, and they were 5th in points allowed per drive last year. To me, that works out to a top 5 defense. If you're 5th in yards per drive. Oh, wait, am I looking at this wrong? Hold on. It may not be 5th and 5th. Okay, it's 9th and 8th. So they were top 10 last year. And you're right about the safety duo and the loss of them could knock them out of the top 10.
Like, I think those guys are going to be good. I think eventually things will turn around, but like not right away. Like
it's a lot of faith in Lou for me, the defensive coordinator. Like that's kind of where I'm at.
Okay. But the Titans can be 4. We know their pass defense stinks. We know it.
But the Titans have like multiple players that I'm like, okay, I know, like their safety duo I know is good. Kevin Byard is like one of the best safeties in football.
Okay, so what are these players that make the Titans pass defense so good?
It's Byard and Hooker. Did they have these players last year? I guess.
Okay, they were one of the worst pass defenses in the entire NFL last year. What did they add to change that? Because as far as I can tell, the Bengals are still a fantastic run defense. And we're saying hypothetically, maybe they'll struggle because of their safeties. But they're also getting Awuzie back, which is a huge deal. They were playing without their number one corner. If we saw that Titans team without Fulton, it's wraps entirely.
We did see Fulton miss about 6 games last year, I think. So Fulton did miss a decent chunk of time.
And when Awuzie did go down, the defense was worse. Like, it was visibly worse.
Still finished top 10 last year.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm taking the Bengals over the Titans easy, man. Maybe I had the Titans too low. I'll give you that. And maybe their defensive line is better. I'll give you that. But I'm still taking.
I like the Bengals linebackers. I like the Bengals linebackers. I like Pratt. I'm glad they were able to retain him. But I think it's a lot of faith in Dax Hill. It's a lot of faith in Jordan Batts. It's a lot of faith in Lou to have that all ready to go. But
away. Do you have faith in Lou?
I do.
Do you have faith in those safeties?
Not to be good right away. Dax Hill was like end of the first round. They didn't start him at all last year because he wasn't ready.
I think we're overestimating. Well, I wouldn't say he wasn't ready. I think we're overestimating.
Those were Lou's words. Those were Lou's words that he wasn't ready.
I think you're overestimating how long it's going to take for them to get acclimated.
Maybe.
And that's the only negative on this whole defense is that their safeties are no.
I mean, who's the Bengals other corner?
Who's the Bengals on their corner? But it's Cam Taylor-Britt or somebody.
Yeah, it's like, and I guess they have Mike Hilton in the slot.
They got Mike Hilton out there.
Yeah, I can totally see the Titans defense being better than the Bengals. Honestly, I had the Bengals. I just think that they have a coordinator that has been so creative and is able to change. And Vrabel is not a bad coordinator, but like, to me, it's just as simple as the Titans' pass defenses was very bad last year, and the Bengals was good. And I didn't think enough changed. I don't think the loss of Bates and Bell is going to be too irreplaceable when they have a first round pick like Dax Hill. I really liked his film at Michigan. I think that he's going to be able to step in and provide like at least a semblance of competency. They added Miles Murphy, who we'll see what they get from him right away. I think that they're just a safe bet. That's kind of the difference between these two. I think this Titans ceiling as a defense is higher, but I feel like more comfortable projecting the Bengals to be in around that 9th or 10th range. But it really wouldn't surprise me at all. So I don't know. I don't really have a dog in this fight. I did rank the Bengals at what, like 6th or 7th or something like that.
Yeah.
And then the Titans maybe at like 12th.
You and Matt both had them at 5, I think.
Yeah, I have them at 5, but yeah, I think that they're about as safe a bet as any to be a good defense, like a very good defense. Like as far as teams, like I'm sure the defensive side of the ball will be like competent. I think Cincinnati for the past 2 years has proved that with this pretty much same core, we can get good play out of them. And I think that they're a little bit Patriots way, where they drive a hard bargain and they don't re-sign people a lot, and they're kind of cheap, right? That they're willing to let people walk if they aren't, willing to accept something in their price range. And that's what happened with Bates. And I think that they've got the culture and the coordinator to kind of do the same thing that the Patriots do. And that's just keep on rolling. And they've invested a lot of high draft picks in that safety position. And I think it's just going to continue to run smoothly. Whereas with the Titans, we need to see like very substantial upgrades to the corner room in a way that I don't know if 6 games of Fulton can really provide. But you're right that front, thinking about that front 5, or front 4, it could be They could shred. I agree. If I like Arden Key and Harold Landry at edge. We'll see how the run defense goes with those two at edge. We'll see if it continues to be as good as it was. But that could be a way because their edge rush last year with like Weaver was not it either. And that got upgraded, and the corners didn't get upgraded, but I could see more pressure getting put on the quarterback, helping the defensive or the defensive backfield.
Yeah.
But at the same time, maybe the run defense suffers. I don't know if they'll be as good as they were last year because they were number one by a country mile. I don't know. It's an interesting debate, but I think
it balanced out a little bit here. If we have the Titans at 9 and the Bengals at 8, you all get the win of having the Bengals higher than the Titans, and the Titans get to be on this list, which I think they deserve a little bit of respect just for at least the front 5.
I'm not mad at them at 9 overall.
Yeah. And then at number 7, so we have so far 10 Steelers, 9 Titans, 8 Bengals. Number 7, we have the Miami Dolphins. Yeah, Theo.
Yeah, and they were a team that was not great in terms of defensive standing last year, but I think the additions of Ramsey and Long and Vic Fangio can really bolster them into the top 10. I think Fangio, we saw him put forward a great defense in Chicago years ago, went to Denver and the defenses were fine. Then he went to Philadelphia and was consulting, right? And that defense was really, really good. And I mean, he's kind of the godfather of everything you're seeing in the league right now. Maybe I worry a little bit about the league figuring out that Fangio stuff just because they see it week in and week out and it has rules. And maybe if you learn how to break the rules, it can happen. But I don't know, Phillips and Chubb, and even if they know the rules, the Dolphins might just have the players because I think Jalen Phillips is in line for a huge season. They get Bradley Chubb for a full year, David Long, Jalen Ramsey, and Wilkins and Sealer and all the other studs that are coming
Holland
back.
At safety. Yeah, I mean they've got dogs. They've got dogs across the board. Across
the board with the coaching, with the all-star coaching staff and the additions that they've made. It's a pretty. It looks like a force to be reckoned with, to be completely honest.
Yeah, it's a really scary defense, and that's what I was like. They were really lowly ranked last year, but I'm like, nah. I was like, I'm not falling for that. I look at these guys. I know the guys that are on this defense, and I'm gonna just trust that they have the dudes to make it work.
Yeah, and. Yeah, the only thing I could really see messing it up, like I really feel confident in the front, like 4 of these guys. I think Phillips and Chubb and even Van Ginkel coming off the bench, I kind of like, and Christian Wilkins is a real good, and
Christian Wilkins is nice.
Sealer's underrated. Like, there's just no way that's not one of the best front 4s in the league to me. Like, there's no weaknesses. They're all above average starters, and I think as long as you have that with a guy like Ramsey, you're going to be okay. I know that Howard had such a bad year last year. It was so rough to watch. I'm hoping that they can bounce back. If Ramsey continues to decline and Howard doesn't get any better, then things could be in trouble. But I think Ramsey can still play at a pretty good level. Maybe he's not the lockdown number 1 that he used to be. But I feel like his struggles last year came more through mental lapses and maybe not being locked in on a bad team more than like a decline in athleticism. I thought he still looked pretty fleet of foot and all that. It was just like stupid mistakes and errors that led to him getting burned, flipping his hips late and stuff like that. So I think on a Super Bowl contender again,
but
I think that we'll see a bounce back year from Ramsey.
Even a down year Ramsey would still be better than when they had to rock with Cater Coe, who was like their cornerback 1. So I think you'll live with that.
And Coe is a good depth piece. Like, I think that even he has his place in the defense. It's just everyone getting knocked down one spot in the pecking order and having like that much less on their plate is going to be, I think, good for the whole unit.
Yeah. I think they're gonna be nice. Matt, do you? Have
I think
anything
you
want
guys
to add?
covered most of it. I agree. I'm really excited for their edge rushing duo. I just think you've got a really experienced defensive coordinator and you've got a lot of really, really high level talents across the board. There's a few weak points here or there, but honestly, I will take a little bit more of a stars and scrubs roster than like even Steven across the board. And I think they've got some serious stars.
All right, next up we have the Baltimore Ravens, but there was a mistake in the numbering order, so we actually have to bump everyone that we've mentioned down. So the Steelers actually get added to the honorable mentions, but we won't talk about them again because we've already talked about them. The Titans are now at 10, the Bengals are at 9, the Dolphins are at 8. At number 7, we have the Baltimore Ravens. You know, the Ravens... I'm sick of the Ravens, man. They need to stop. They need to stop being good. Okay. They have Marlon Humphrey. They weren't going to bring back Marcus Peters. And I was like, okay, they won't have a number 2 corner. And then they go out and get Rock Yassin, and they completely change their defense after they bring in Roquan, and they have a great safety duo. I hate this team, man. I hate this team. They always find a way to piss me off.
Yeah, they're a really interesting defense to watch. I think Mike McDonald, is that the name of their coordinator off the top of my head? He is not afraid to do some fun things with rotations and letting Roquan Smith and Patrick Queen cover a lot of ground and kind of disguising their look. And I think the addition of Roquan Smith makes this such a dangerous team. I mean, he is so good. He really is so good. And watching him work off of, I really enjoyed watching them recently because I was working on my Kyle Hamilton video. Yeah. And I was drawn to Travis Jones, their 3rd round rookie out of UConn last year.
Yeah.
And I thought he looked like a really strong nose, and watching him take up doubles and keep Roquan free was cool to watch because, I mean, it was just perfect front 7 play. Like they would try to combo him. He would take up both guys, and then Roquan would read the back and get, 3 gaps over and make a tackle after shedding somebody. Like it was, those two make it very, very hard to run. And so does number 92, I saw his last name a million times and never learned how to pronounce it. It's like Madubike.
Yeah, you don't.
I always just I think that's right, but skip over his last name, but he's nice as well. It's they're getting a Jabo back who's got good bend and should be, he might be someone who doesn't get a ton of pressures, but can get a bunch of sacks, I think, because
he's one of those like speedy number 2 guys, like, who starts cooking off the edge. I really like him.
Yeah, Tyus Bowser too is a decent player, and so is Oweh. Like they don't really have a true number 1 on that line,
and that's what keeps them down low for me. That's why they're not higher. Is like, man, as far as like pure pass rushers go, this is not the greatest crop. But they've proven before that their defense works anyway, so they deserve some level of respect regardless.
And I think that as a collective, they can get enough. Right. Like everyone there has enough juice. And then you've got the idea of, Roquan and Patrick Queen blitzing, and they're very good blitzers. So is Kyle Hamilton, a very good blitzer off the edge. So it's like, there's going to be ways for this team to get pressure, even if no one develops into like the guy. And who knows, maybe Travis Jones develops into one of like a very good nose tackle. I think that's on the table considering some of the reps he had his first year. It's not crazy to imagine. I mean, everyone develops into it. Every top 10 guy was at one point not a top 10 guy. So it's not crazy to think that someone who's not top 10 develops into top 10. Well, it sounds crazy to say like, oh, Travis Jones could be a top 10 defensive tackle because he's definitely not right now, but he has the talent to do it, and it wouldn't necessarily shock me. So, and same with like guys like, I don't know if a Jabo would ever be top 10, but he was a first round pick despite the injury. So he could have been a top half of the first round guy without or no, maybe he was a second round guy with the injury, but still they've got some first round picks there. I think Kyle Hamilton is really stellar as a nickel corner. Humphrey's obviously amazing. The defense should be, it should be very solid.
Yeah. I hate this team, man. They draft all my favorite players. I like the Jabo out of the draft. I like Travis Jones. I like Kyle Hamilton. And they're all going to Baltimore.
They just go off the community big board.
They just look at the stay hot. They look at the stay hot.
What's the
big board?
Let's just look at what draft Twitter is talking about and then just draft them. Why would it even pay a scouting department? I worry a little bit about their corner situation. I remember 2 years ago, I think Marlon Humphrey got hurt and there were some absolutely nasty lineups and Joe Burrow threw like 2,000 yards against them in that season. And like that could happen again if Marlon Humphrey went down because Brandon Stevens I'm sure that he's got to be the most targeted corner in the league opposite Marlon Humphrey. He just gets picked on all day.
But they got Rock Yassin. They got Rock Yassin.
Yeah, they did get Rock Yassin. No, it's not a bad pickup. So that's good. But if the second they lost Chuck Clark, which I think is unfortunate, so it'll probably be like Geno Stone up there because I'd want to keep Kyle Hamilton at nickel. So the secondary is a little thin, and the front seven maybe or the front four doesn't have like a number one superstar, but as a collective unit, it looks pretty good.
If everyone is healthy, then it'll be okay.
If they can play like they did at the end of last year, which there's no reason why they shouldn't be able to do this, then it'll be okay.
But
I agree.
Moving on to now we're at number 6. So again, recap. Number 10 is the Titans. Number 9 is the Bengals. Number 8 is the Dolphins. Number 7, we just talked about with Baltimore Ravens. Number 6 is the Washington Commanders. I think, Matt, you were the only one to not have this team on your list. I'm curious as to why.
Maybe I'm underestimating the front four, but I didn't feel particularly moved by the linebackers, and I didn't feel particularly moved by the secondary, although maybe I'm being a little bit too low on them. I could see them in here in the top 10, but maybe I am being too low on what is a probably,
I think you are
the best
I think
front
you
four
are being
in the,
too high.
That would
they
be
were
that
a
would
really
be the
good
other
defense last year. I was surprised looking at the numbers.
Yeah. They would be the other team up there with San Francisco and Tennessee as one of those premier defensive lines. And I think their secondary does have some work. Like Fuller's good, and they got.
Yeah, I mean, looking at it, I mean, they've got some guys. Shout out Derek Forrest. I don't know how much I believe in Forbes to come in right away, but he's not going to be like. Fuller's probably going to be their one, no, and then
I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean that could be good, and I can see it. I probably should have had him in the top 10. I didn't feel like I wasn't trying to disrespect them, or I'm not like standing on my soapbox to say like they suck.
Bro's a
I can definitely see looking at the roster and not being too crazy impressed by anything outside of the front four. But last year, I mean, I was struck looking at the numbers. They were number 1 ranked defense on early down success rate, and they were the number 1 ranked defense on late down success rate. So it was pretty tough to move the ball, regardless of the situation against this Washington team. And I think the addition of Forbes could be like a Trayvon Diggs type player where he creates a lot of splash plays and maybe gets caught out of position in a couple of them. Like, I do think that he's a good zone corner. He's got a good like feel for space and how to position himself. And he's got insane ball skills. That's why when the first round, he had pick sixes all the time.
Right.
So with that kind of splash play, and I think the rest hopefully generating more consistency, I think that they're a pretty safe bet to be a top 10 unit, and they'll need to be because, they're trying to ease in a guy like Sam Howell. And if, even if Sam Howell performs well, like to expect him to carry an offense that carries a team to the playoffs, it's not going to happen. The defense needs to be the heartbeat. The defense needs to be the heart and soul. It's all on their shoulders. And I mean, that's kind of the case with every team. You need a good defense, but especially Washington. If they want if the defensive coordinator, the offensive coordinator, if everyone wants to keep their jobs, it's all on this defense being good. And it makes sense why they took a defender so early, and Forbes and Martin.
I think you're good with Forbes being kind of a ball hawk, big play type of guy, because you have Fuller on the other side and you have Cam Curl up top. Like, he has
and you got such a good front four that
you've got a good
teams aren't really going to be able to like wait around for him to mess up, you know? Like, I think so I
when
think
you have a front four generating a lot of pressure, being a gambler as a cornerback just works out more, man.
Yeah, look at Diggs. I mean, that's exactly what happened.
Yep. Yeah. And Dallas has really good defense. So, although that's a whole nother.
Yeah. We'll get to them in a little bit too.
But yeah, I'll admit I had them off. It was a very tough list to make, man.
It's a tough list. It is a tough list. Theo and I left off Buffalo, and so
we did.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that.
And I left off number 5. I left off number 5 on our list here.
You left off Philly?
I did leave off Philly.
Brother, I'm not gonna lie.
I disagree. I disagree.
Why?
Because their defense was terrible when they played good quarterbacks last year. First of all, they got exposed versus Dallas. Then they played Daniel Jones and Christian McCaffrey at quarterback in the playoffs. And then they ran into Mahomes, and he shredded them.
That's Mahomes.
They are weak. Well, yeah, but they just didn't play anybody last year, like quarterback wise, and they did their job. They were a great team, and they're a good defense, but they're weak up the middle. Their safeties and linebackers are pretty bad. They're relying on a lot of old talent. Darius Slay, who was good last year, but getting up there in age and not necessarily the most consistent corner year to year. Fletcher Cox is getting up there. Brandon Graham is getting up there. And I get that they can rotate in guys like Nolan Smith. But, I mean, what can you expect out of Nolan Smith year one? I mean, Myles Garrett had like 7 sacks.
That's because Myles Garrett played like 10 games.
I guess, yeah, that's a good point. But I guess all of Aiden Hutchinson had 9.5. He went number 2 last year.
They're relying on Fletcher Cox. Rookies. I don't think Fletcher Cox was that great last year. Like, he wasn't like prime Fletcher Cox. And they're bringing in Jalen Carter.
They are bringing in Jalen Carter.
That's, I mean, come on.
And they just don't have that many guys in their prime on their defense, I would say. Like, they've got guys at the beginning of the career and at the end of their career, but they just don't have many like prime superstars in the middle of their prime. They're weak up the middle, and they got exposed versus good offenses last year and good quarterbacks last year.
I think their safeties are probably going to be okay. I honestly think that safety play, like I kind of agree that safety play is not too big of a concern overall. I think their cornerbacks are still going to be good. I think saying that their cornerbacks were good last year, and maybe this is the year that Slay falls off, but I'm not willing to bet on that. If we're being that critical of other defenses, then I mean, man, we'd have to say, any injury-prone player is going to get injured, or it's like I just don't know.
Reddick is a baller.
Reddick is in his prime. They led the league in sacks last year, and I have
Sweat is real good. Yeah,
Sweat's real good. I have no reason to believe, like, dude, if Davis could be a little bit better and Carter is who we think he is, I'm sorry, man. Their front like 4 and their pass rush is just as good, if not better, than it was last year. So I think it's kind of like a similar circumstance where it's like you've got all those guys who are rushing the passer, and then you've got these great corners. That's just going to lead you into a lot of turnovers, And while I don't disagree that like maybe they didn't get tested too much last year, if we are looking at this through the perspective, like you said earlier, of like, okay, well, this team doesn't play good defense or doesn't play good offenses, so I'm going to rank their defense higher, then I think the Eagles are like kind of at an advantage. I'm looking at the quarterbacks they play. I don't know if I'm super moved till later in the year. I mean, if we're counting like just the high end QBs, yeah, they get Mahomes and Allen at week 11 and 12 back to back. They do get Dak twice like they did last year. And I guess they get
Rodgers. They only
got
him once. They only got Dak once last year. They got Cooper Rush the other game.
But outside, I mean, you've got a lot of games here against what's probably going to be some pretty. You've got some stretches of rough quarterback play. I mean, I think at worst,
I don't think it looks that bad. I mean,
I don't know.
The Cardinals will have Kyler back. They play the Seahawks. Geno's fine. The 49ers, regardless of who's playing quarterback, is like a tough offense. They've got, Daniel Jones is whatever. That's fair. If Brock Purdy tears his like PCL and cannot throw, but still has to play quarterback, then it will be
maybe I'm sleeping on their schedule a little bit too much, but
if Stafford's healthy, I mean, they've got the Bucks and the Commanders, and who knows what Howell is.
Okay. Well, all right. I'll get, if the Rams tear the Eagles defense up, I'll give you that. Mac Jones, well, of course. Okay. They do have
It's tougher than last year. It's way tougher than last year. Unless it was unbelievable, the stretch of quarterbacks they played last year. It was like Kirk and Dak, and that was like about it. And they did kill the Vikings offense, and Kirk didn't play a great game. But at any rate, I just think they weren't super tested last year. Mm-hmm. They were 7th in EPA per attempt. And I think with age, even with the rookies in their draft class, which I liked, I think with age and a harder schedule, I could see that 7th getting knocked down a tick to 11th or 12th. So my big hot take was to leave the Eagles off. And that was,
I see the vision on it. I do. But, yeah. To me,
do you see the vision on it, or am I crazy?
I'm still gonna be high on them until proven otherwise. I still think they got a lot of sacks for a reason.
Yeah, it's like even if they weren't super tested last year, I mean they still led the league in sacks, and it's like if they weren't good, they wouldn't have been able to do that regardless of who they played.
Yes, they've got dudes like Reddick, and if Reddick is Reddick again, and we've got Jalen Carter, who's just walks in the league and he's Jeffrey Simmons, it could be could be scary hours.
It's like they can't stop Mahomes, but how many defenses can, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like maybe 2,
and they don't have Gannon anymore, and who knows if that's a good or a
that's a good
thing.
point. Maybe I'm seeing the vision.
That's honestly I was going to put them higher, and then I was like, oh shit, they did lose their defensive coordinator. Like maybe
the thing is with Gannon, they lost Gannon and Fangio though, so who knows?
They lost all of their coordinators. There's reason to believe they could take a step back, as a team, but I still think they have enough talent across the board that I don't know who their new guys are, but it's like you're not going to reinvent. You're not going to reinvent the wheel. You're not going to walk in there and be like, all right, this is my team. These are my rules. This is my offense, my defense. You understand why this team was successful last year.
Yeah, the blueprint got laid out last year. I can't imagine they strayed too far from it, but I definitely could see them being a bit more aggressive on defense than they were last year, maybe a few more blitzes, but if their front four is as good as it could be, maybe that's just useless and they should just be rushing for all the time. But I don't know. I think that this team has a wide range of outcomes. If they were the best defense in the league, would I be totally shocked? I don't know if I would be totally shocked if they were ranked to number 1, but if, Slay fell off, and the passing defense was bad, and that brought their overall numbers more down to the average range, because their rushing defense wasn't very good last year. And maybe, Hargrave leaving and Carter coming in will help that. But, if it was more of a middle of the pack defense and the offense kind of carried the team more this year than last year, that wouldn't surprise me either. And got to have some hot takes. So my big hot take was leaving the Eagles off.
That's very fair. At number 4, we have the other NFC East really good football team, Dallas Cowboys. And I think both you and Matt had them at 3, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they were awesome last year.
They were. They were awesome last year. Their secondary.
Yeah, you have them at 9. That's pretty low.
Here's the thing that worries me a little bit with Dallas is like, okay, Parsons is outstanding, right? Mm-hmm. And I think their safeties were really good last year, and I was happy to see Diggs be a little bit more consistent, and they have Gilmore now. But like, outside of Van Der Esch, who's playing linebacker for them, and then like who's
one linebacker spot?
Who's going to be playing on like their interior defensive line? Like I could see them.
Their first round rookie.
And is he? But
good.
Mozzie Smith is like he's like a pass rusher. He's a run defender. Who am I thinking of? That's the.
Mozzie Smith had like 3 sacks in college. He's more of he's like a big nose tackle. I think he was just what they needed.
Then I might be thinking of, who was I thinking of that was the
could you be thinking of Osa Odigizua? Osa?
Who's the defensive?
Or perhaps Neville Gallimore?
There was a defensive lineman that was like, that I liked a lot, but he was like more of a I was thinking of Cansey. I was thinking of Kalijah Cansey.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe the run defense. Okay, that's on me. I just like completely misconstrued my defensive lineman. But like,
you're thinking of the little skinny guy. This is the big fat guy.
The big fat guy. Yeah, this is the. No, I just misconstrued that. But still, I don't know if that bumps them up significantly more. Maybe I had them a little bit too low. I do worry that the run defense isn't quite as special as maybe the pass defense will be.
But that's been true the last couple of years, right? The pass defense with Diggs and Parsons and Lawrence getting pressure has been better than the run defense. Really, to get the run defense going, they've been rotating safeties down and playing a lot of single high. And that's how the run defense has been able to be so like as effective as it has been. They can still do that now, but they also have the versatility to kind of move guys out of the box, hopefully, with the addition of Mozzie Smith. And I think Dan Quinn, everyone thought that he would regress because they were so turnover based in 2021.
Right.
Like it really seemed like a lock that they wouldn't be as good as they were the year before, but then it happened. They were fantastic once again. And at this point, I just think that that as long as Quinn and Parsons are there and plenty of other good players around. Like there's role players. I thought Van Der Esch had a bit of a better season than the last season. That I think that Gilmore still has a bit left in the tank. And even if he doesn't, Bland, we'll see. He was a rookie last year. So hopefully he can take steps and improve. I think from top to bottom, Dan Quinn's unit has the resume and the talent to be a top 5 lock. Honestly, I think that this defense should be one of the best in the league. Again, I think 9 is too low.
I might have been a little too low on them. You might be right.
I agree.
Yeah. And I think you were too low on number 2 as well, because you had number 2 on the list even lower than the Cowboys.
Number 2. Oh. Okay, no, let's be a little bit more serious about that, man. But
all right, do we want to go on to number 2?
Wait, number 3. We have to talk about number 3.
Oh man,
number 3 first is the Patriots. Number 3 is the Patriots. That defense is here's the thing. I was looking back at the Patriots over the years, and I'm like, the Patriots have had a top 10 defense literally like every single year of my lifetime. Like,
yeah, except for like 2017, they had a pretty bad.
There was one year. It's like, with the exception of 1 year, they've been top 10.
Oh, yeah.
Every Bill Belichick is goated for that. But one thing that really sticks out is every time they have like a premier corner, they just like magically go to like number 1. It's like every single time.
And I get the logic of like they have Gonzalez. I don't know if I feel like he's a guaranteed number one premier corner out the gate. I feel like that totally could happen, but that's like really high expectations for him. And I guess it's the Patriots and he's so talented. So it's like, I don't want to bet.
They were top 5 last year. I remember doing a show where we guessed the top 5 defenses or top 10 defenses. And then we had to name a dark horse. And mine was the Patriots. And my logic was, it's just Belichick. And last year at this time, everyone was worried about the defense because it didn't look like they had any talent. Like they didn't have a real corner after they let JC Jackson walk. And it was like Jack Jones and Jonathan Jones and Marcus. Is like the only connecting factor between these corners is that they're all last named is Jones. And like they had like Jonathan Tavai, who was a horrible bust for the Lions. And like it just didn't. It was kind of a no-name defense that not many people were taking super seriously, and yet there they were, top 10. And this year they drafted a bunch of new defensive players, Keon White and Gonzalez, and it's Belichick, and it's just like it's kind of like the Bengals. It's like Lou Alamarumo is a great defensive mind, and even though that doesn't have a bunch of big names, I kind of expect it at this point to just be a good unit. Belichick is that times 100 because he's the GOAT and the greatest defensive mind of all time. And if they were top 5 last year without Gonzalez, like with Gonzalez and Keon and all that, like no reason it can't happen again. So
very fair.
Yeah. I think they're just like completely poised to be awesome. And it is just Belichick. It is.
Belichick would have to completely lose his fastball, and the league would have to like figure him out in year 24 of his reign.
I'm so scared, man.
Yeah, but it was a stellar unit last year, and and the year before, and the year before that,
and the year before. It's every single season. I'm just like, there's no way, but it's true. They just always ball out. They really do. All right. So to this point, we have had the Titans at 10, Bengals at 9, Dolphins at 8, Ravens at 7, Commanders at 6, Eagles at 5, Cowboys at 4, who I had way too low, Patriots at 3, and then at number 2, we have the New York Jets. I am all for the Jets being on this list, but at number 2, that feels really high.
You had them at 10. How do you think they are gonna get worse?
I mean, they have the get worse.
I mean, they were above number 10 last year.
Sure, but there are other.
So you're projecting regression.
Okay, Sauce Gardner.
That's a fact. Why are you like? Oh, why are you construing it this way? Like, okay, the defense ranked like top 5 by basically every metric last year at 10. Like, yeah, you're projecting them to regress a little bit. But I don't understand.
I'm not looking at it like regression. I'm just looking at it like there are defenses that I think are better than them.
They got past. They sunk in the rankings, though. If they were,
I disagree with 10. Where you put them, but I kind of agree with Blaiden's logic here. Like you don't go through your rankings and say like, here were the top 10 last year, up or down for each of them. But I think you're way too low on them still. And it's almost to the point where you're kind of predicting regression, but in such a small game of sample size, I think it's okay not to build your rankings off of the results of last year. Yeah, like that's not how you would do your your record predictions. You wouldn't be like, well, this team went so-and-so last year and then they added this and this and this, or did they get better or worse? I wouldn't necessarily do that.
I wouldn't say the Eagles are going to go like 17-0 now or anything, or like, but I don't know.
But why do you have them at 10? So what we have them at, I have them at 2. Matt has them at
2.
4, and Daniel has them at 3. Okay. So all of us have them top 5 except for you, Blade, and you've got them at 10. So what are you looking for? Like, obviously you still have them top 10 and all that, but what is underwhelming?
I think they have like some of the premier stars. Like they have Gardner, they have Quinnen Williams, and they have a nice second piece corner in DJ Reed. But like I just don't see like this like super high end, like superstar defense. Like I think the Patriots just have like more talent. Like they have a better like.
Well, then what did you see
rusher.
last year? Were they not high end superstars last year? Like Sauce and Quinnen and
I guess it's like the same dudes. It's just like
Reed.
I just think like the Cowboys speak a little bit more to me. I think the Patriots speak a little bit more to me.
I can get that. I can get them lower than 2. I think 2 is. It's
like I could understand like okay, I'm way too low on the Cowboys, and like the Cowboys should be higher, and like so like teams that I would be willing to put the Jets above is like Pittsburgh, maybe Baltimore and Philly. I could get behind. But like getting above the Dolphins would be tough. I think like the Dolphins are going to be able to get after the quarterback a little bit more, and like I think like up top, I would prefer to have Javon Holland at safety. I think I might prefer the Dolphins linebackers too. Yeah, I probably prefer the Dolphins linebackers too. It's like Tennessee, I prefer up front.
I don't know. I think that this was a team that was pretty elite in terms of pressure rate last year. They were 8th, and then they just have so much depth, and they can rotate Jermaine Johnson, Bryce Huff, Carl Lawson, like Quinnen Williams.
McDonald's getting added to that. I know he's
John
a rookie,
Franklin,
but he's an old rookie.
McDonald's
John Franklin Myers. I thought the addition of Al Woods was a smart one for them. I thought the addition of Chuck Clark was a smart one for them. I thought the addition of Amos at this stage in free agency was a smart one for them. And I actually like their linebackers in CJ Mosley and Quincy Williams, especially against the run. I just think like at all position groups, like Quincy Williams and Mosley, they've got a really deep defensive line, and they've got maybe the best corner duo in the league, and they signed a bunch of safeties this offseason. So I just on paper, I think like, I don't know, they've got stars, they've got consistency, they've got depth. They just have everything I'm looking for in a defense.
I wouldn't be surprised if they were like one of the like top 5 defenses. It's just like they have stars, but they don't have like Sauce and Quinnen are their stars, and I think some of these other premier defenses have
more
better
like
stars.
The Titans, like Jefferson, Quinnen. Wait, why am I getting mixed up on
Simmons?
Jeffrey Simmons, and who's their second star?
Byard.
I guess, but like, I don't know if that's a better, like, more star power than Williams and Sauce.
That one's close. That one's definitely close.
And Byard versus Sauce and Williams. We got to have a conversation about positional value and safeties after this episode.
You hate safeties, man.
Dude, Byard versus Sauce Gardner. Who is more valuable? Dude. I know it's like my bit, but like Sauce is like straight up the number one lockdown corner versus like a very good safety. I mean,
or the Patriots, like who's their star?
Belichick.
yeah.
Come on. Like, I think the Patriots are too. I think the Patriots are going to just be kind of scorched earth on defense.
Yeah. I just think the Jets have such a good defensive. Like, I don't know what would have to happen for them to not be elite. I guess, you know, and I guess, or even the Cowboys stars, like it's Diggs and Minka. And Minka's better than anyone. Minka. Jeez,
and they also have Lawrence.
Yeah, but
and
even
they're safe, and they have a lot of depth at safety, and they added Gilmore.
They do.
Like I had the Cowboys way too low. And maybe I have the Jets a little too low, but like
I just think like top just squeaking in at number 10, like I think they're pretty solidly like have to be on everyone's top 10 list. And like if they kind of solidly have to be on everyone's top 10 list, I think there's only a couple teams. I think the 49ers have to be on everybody's.
Yes.
I think the Cowboys probably should be on everybody's. And I think the Jets should be on everybody's.
I would say I think the Jets absolutely should be on here. It's not like they were like squeaking.
Oh, you had them at 10, so
I guess
you're getting away with it.
They are top 10, but you're just squeaking in.
Just squeaking in. I guess. Like I could put them above Pittsburgh because I will like the corner play is substantially better.
It's a little bit different.
Right,
it's just a hair better.
Yeah.
We're talking about maybe.
I would put them above. I think I could put them above Pittsburgh. I could put them above.
I mean, you could put them above anybody. I think you really I think you can make the argument that the Jets have the best defense in the league. I think you could put them above anybody. I think you could put them above the 49ers. I wouldn't, but I don't know if you could. That is tough. The 49ers are just too stacked. No. Yeah, maybe you couldn't do that.
No. You want to talk about stars? Who has the best defensive star combo in the NFL? It's the 49ers with Warner and Bosa.
Yeah, that is true.
And they added fucking who's the
Minka and Watt is up there though.
Ooh, Minka and Watt's pretty. I'm still going Warner and Bosa, but it's not as runaway. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, Minka and Watt's great. Warner and Bosa is stellar, and then they have the premier safety
Jair and
duo.
Gary. Anyone? So close.
Denzel and Garrett.
I had to give it a shot.
Please.
Kenny Clark and Jair. Give that one a shot.
I won't even start joking about J.C. Horn and Brian Burns and whatnot.
Yeah. So I think if there was any reworking, I would maybe switch the Cowboys and Titans.
I'd change a whole lot of stuff. This ain't an easy list.
And then maybe Jets, I might throw right up there with Dallas.
But I like our communal list pretty well.
The consensus came out
too.
Okay.
And number one, obviously, we have the 49ers. And then the 49ers are sick. They were the best defense last year. They play nothing but too high. And like BLAIDEN mentioned earlier, they can play too high and you can't attack the middle of the field because Fred Warner just teleports back there. And Nick Bosa has sacked you by the time that you have finished listening to this or processing this information. So, yeah, I can't. And they got Javon Hargrave, who's way better than Kinlaw.
And that's such a big deal, not only because they got a guy who it's like, wow, this guy is a star player, but I think they replaced their biggest weakness in Kinlaw, who, we saw the Eagles go at consistently in that playoff game. Now, that's not going to be nearly as easy to do.
Yeah, and he's not the strongest run defender, so maybe you could still do it, but man, the one-on-ones he's going to get...
I think it's worlds of different. And even then, Kinlaw was not giving you a lot on the pass rushing end overall. I think it's although
and Hufanga's good. He's good for a couple of splash pay.
Dude, that was a really underrated safety in the league
is nuts to me,
here I was looking at this because I've been working on my all.
He's only 33 though. I feel like he's 90, man.
I've been working on my all decades 2010s team. And brother Gibson,
he's got a shot at it.
He's got a shot at it. He's got a shot at it. It's weird.
What other safeties would be up there?
2010s
of the 2010s.
How long was Palomalu? Palomalu was done, right?
Seahawks. Both of their guys.
Yeah, Earl Thomas and Cam. Yeah, they would be.
Earl Thomas is a stone cold lock, and
yes,
to some extent, so is Chancellor.
I'm trying to think.
What you should do, BLAIDEN, not to give you, crimp your vibe here, but instead of the all 2010s team, what could be more interesting is an alternate decade team because they already released the decade teams. There already is an all decade team. But what could be more interesting would be
an all decade team. It's top 10 players at each position.
You're right. It is different.
So.
But I've always thought it would be interesting to do an all-decade team, but an alternate one where it's like 2015 to 2025.
Oh, I see.
Oh, okay.
That
Well,
would be cool.
maybe I'll do that once we get to 25.
Right.
It
We're not
would
there
look
yet.
really-
You'd have to do
yeah.
2013 to 2023,
Yeah.
obviously.
I'm
but that's
working
not
on
20
top
years.
10 pass rushers right now. And it's
Yeah.
once you get past the top 2, it's like it gets pretty tough. But because it's Watt and Miller, but like everyone knows that. So
Oh, never mind. I was about to ask who's the worst defense in the league, but it's got to be the Rams, right? There's no way any team. If there's a team worse than the Rams,
are the Cardinals giving them a run for their money?
I don't know, dude. Because the Cardinals at least have.
I don't know. I haven't like really looked. So I'm
the
not.
Rams defense outside of Aaron Donald literally looks like it could be a roster from any sports league anywhere. Like it could. Is it NFL? Is it ping pong? Like I don't know these names.
Hold on. Name as many Rams starters without looking. I don't know. Are you looking right now?
No. I don't.
Name as many
know.
as you can without looking. Go.
Okay, so we've got Aaron Donald. We have got Ernest Jones.
Yep.
Okay. Hoyt, is that a guy?
Michael Hoyt, I believe. Yes.
Tre'Davious there's TCU guy, Hodges Tomlinson has a shot.
Yeah, he's not listed as a starter, but that's a good one. He's on
the
there.
team.
Taylor Rapp is not on the team anymore.
Taylor Rapp is not on the team. Nick Scott is also not on the team.
Is Hollins there? Is there a Hollins? Wait, he's on the Packers now, I think.
I don't believe so.
They signed him at the end of last year. Oh my God, dude.
You have not gotten a secondary player yet.
Outside of
Kobe Durant?
Yes, Kobe Durant.
Show me Kobe Durant. Show me
there is a sneaky
Kendricks.
Ohio State Buckeye on here.
Oh God. Give me Darion Kendrick.
Yeah, Darion Kendrick.
Yeah. Give me who is rushing the passer?
No.
That would be Kobe Turner and Byron Young off the edge.
I
Byron Young. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know.
Wait, which one is it?
What do you mean?
There were 2.
Oh,
it's not the one from Bama.
It's the Tennessee one?
Yeah.
Okay. Where did the one from Bama? He went to Vegas?
I think that's the team I have in my head. So yes, Kendrick, Durant, Ernest Jones, Donald, and Tre'Davious Hodges Tomlinson are like the only guys I got.
It's a tough one, man. And the Buckeye is Jordan Fuller for those playing at home. Safety.
Got you.
Okay. But yeah,
the Cardinals is not much better, man.
Aaron Donald will be receiving my MVP vote if that defense is above 30th. I will say that.
So true.
Yeah, man.
So
like
true.
The Cardinals defense is not cute. Don't get it twisted, man.
No, yeah, the Cardinals is also pretty horrible.
Yeah.
But
do you guys want to talk about the honorable mentions a little bit? We talked about the Steelers, but we didn't talk about the Bills, Chiefs, or Browns. Did you want to hit on those?
I think the Chiefs and Bills are good bets. I think that if the Bills, everybody can come back the way they were, or even close to the way they were, or somewhat close, like 90%, Micah Hyde and Von Miller and Poyer and all that. They've got a chance to be good and top 10 again. It's just, I don't know.
You're just betting on regression. I had them at 9, so I'm not that mad about it.
Yeah. And then the Chiefs, they didn't end well in the final metrics because they got off to such a horrible start last year, but they were hooping by the end of it. So
they had a lot of young guys. I have them at 10. I don't remember.
You did sneak them in at 10. So Matt did give the Chiefs respect.
I might stand on that one. I do believe in them. I think it just took a second for everybody to get their, stand their ground a little bit. And they had a lot of turnover and a lot of rookies. Like Cook was playing big minutes for him, and McDuffie and Karlaftis.
Yeah, they were hooping by the end of it.
I think all of these guys are starting to turn into real players, man.
After their bye, it got really good really fast. And my only concern with them was the pass rush outside of Chris Jones. Like even if Karlaftis is a little better, they're dealing with like Felix Uzoma Onwuzurike, like he is in line for a massive amount of snaps that I just don't know if he's ready for. And like, if they just double Chris Jones however they can, like, will they have a great pass rush? But I guess they blitz so much that it's kind of hard to double Chris Jones. So as long as he's getting one-on-ones, their pass rush will be pretty good. I could see it. I really did consider the Chiefs, so I think they were a good shout for honorable mention. Same with the Bills, same with the Steelers, same with the Saints. The Saints, we'll see. I don't know. They've been top 10 basically every year for the last 6 years. So at this point in that division,
nothing like that's nothing for the Patriots.
Didn't the Chiefs get another end? Am I making this up?
I don't remember them doing it. They let go of Frank Clark, who they could still just go pick up and sign, I suppose. But
no, I thought Frank Clark did get.
Maybe I'm just making that up. Fair enough.
No, they signed Charles Omenihu, but he doesn't necessarily make me feel any differently about the pass rush.
Frank Clark is in Denver, baby.
Oh, I didn't even know that. Shout out Frank Clark.
A lot of moves.
Anyway.
Shout out Denver, man. Shout out the Broncos for getting Frank Clark.
Denver was another team I kind of sort of considered because they were pretty good, but
yeah. Well, you know what else is pretty good? Our boys over at Oakley. Welcome back to the mailbag segment where we like to get you all involved in the show, brought to you by our good friends over at Oakley. Make sure you trust the best in eyewear business with your summer fit this year. Oakley's not only the best looking eyewear on the market, but also the highest quality. So get on over to Oakley.com, snag a pair today. That is Oakley.com. Tell them Stay Hot sent you, man. We love Oakley. We got a couple questions today from our Twitter. Number one is from Cruz. Do you think Dak Prescott still has room to improve his game to a top 5 level?
No. I think he's maxed out. I think he's like maxed out at like 6 or 7.
I kind of think he is who he is as well. Maybe he could get hot one year and be like top 5 in a lot of metrics, and you could argue it at some point, but yeah, I think he's just a tier 2 QB. And when you look at the other guys, it's like, that means he's got to be better than like Burrow or Herbert or Lamar or Allen or Mahomes, and that's tough.
I just don't think he has the physical athleticism, and I think he's really mastered pre and post snap. I know that people are going to laugh at me because of all the picks. Like, yes, he threw picks, but that's because he was aggressive, and he was aggressive because he was making assumptions about where guys would be, and he does that every play. Like, he's trying to anticipate stuff, and sometimes it goes wrong, and sometimes he tries to fit into a window. But like, dude, they just line up, and he plays a very cerebral game, and he's aggressive downfield, and they score a bunch of points. So I think he's maxed out. I think he's maxed out at a very, very good quarterback, but top 5 above those guys that you just listed, Matt. I don't know if that's attainable for him at this stage in his career.
Yeah, it's tough. Very good quarterback. Very, very good, but it's going to be hard to get much better than this. And this next question is from Alejandro Lopez. It says, how should the Falcons handle the running back rotation?
They should give Bijan a good amount of the work, but split it up a decent amount so where it's not, next leading guy gets 16 carries or anything. But
I think if you went 65% Bijan on the ground, maybe, or maybe even 60.
More than that.
You more?
Yeah, you drafted him top 10.
I guess that's fair. Like 75%.
Yeah, maybe 75-25 would be cool. I don't know.
Yeah, once out of every 4 drives, you kind of have a Algier drive and let Bijan get a spot on the bench. I think that they are going to use, and I know they're going to use both at the same time a lot. So prepare for that. So it's not going to quite be 75-25, 11 personnel. It's going to be plenty of 20 where they're both out there and Bijan's out playing wide receiver, which I condone because I do think that Bijan Robinson has a better shot to be a better receiver than every member of their receiving core not named Drake London, because it's kind of rough. So
I thought you were about to throw Drake London under the bus.
Obviously he's not going to be better than Drake London, but if you're trying to put your best 11 out there, sometimes it's going to be Algier in the backfield and Robinson in the slot. So I think that's fine to do, but
yeah,
you don't want Bijan playing 100% of the snaps. Otherwise he'll get hurt because that's just the way it goes with running backs. It seems like you don't want his workload to be too crazy high.
Right. They can't give Bijan 100% of the snaps. And we know Kyle Pitts is getting 0. So that means,
come on, man.
Am I wrong?
Yes. I still believe. I think that there should be a lot of Bijan involvement, but I do think there should be just some drives where they go under center and it's just Algier. I don't think that should be completely gone.
It wouldn't be a terrible goal line. Wouldn't be a terrible goal line set to just go Algier. Like you get inside the 6, inside the 5, just run it 4 times in a row. You're probably going to get in. So that's all the questions that we had, though. Anything else you guys want to add?
Nope. Let's wrap it up.
Well, thank you all so much for tuning in. It's been an absolute pleasure. Again, make sure you guys go get some Oakleys so you can look super fresh with the highest quality glasses on the market right now. Thank you all so much for tuning in. And as always, we will catch you on the flippity flop.